Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown. And if you're in the UK or Germany or in Portugal, I'm pretty sure you heard the news, the breaking news, that Christian Brueckner just got acquitted of all the charges he was up against. Woof. What does that mean, you ask? Okay, I'm going to tell you right up front. What it means is Hans Christian Wolters, that's the prosecutor who's been trying to link him to the Madeleine McCann case for the last almost 5 years now. I think his case against him is on life support, and I'm going to explain why. All right, I'm going to use The Sun as the article I will read from, and then comment on different aspects of it. The Sun being such a reliable media source. Okay. Yes, they did libel me, and I did win an apology from them. And of course, I do not trust them. But let's go with this, because all the media outlets really aren't that reliable anyway. But what does it say? It says, police last night warned the clock is ticking as they race to stop Madeleine McCann prime suspect, Christian Brueckner, going back to the streets. First of all, he's the prime suspect only in the prosecutor, Hans Christian Wolters' mind. I don't see that he's a prime suspect anyplace. Of course, in the media, yes, they've been pushing him as the prime suspect, but I haven't seen Portugal say he's a prime suspect. So anyway, they're worried about him going back on the streets. Okay, well, I'm okay with them worrying about that, because he's not a very nice guy. I call him a psychopathic predator. I don't want him in my neighborhood. You don't want him in your neighborhood. So do we really want him on the streets? Not really. But the convicted pedophile, 47, was sensationally cleared of a string of unrelated rape claims. I believe, I'm trying to remember now, I think it was 2 rape claims and 2 indecent exposures. There may have been another one in there. But he was cleared, acquitted by a German court yesterday, and will finish his current 7-year sentence on September 17th next year. So less than a year from now, he will be out of prison for sure. All right. Now, prosecutors launched an immediate appeal claiming the judges were biased. Biased in what way? They liked the guy. They wanted him back on the streets. I mean, sometimes judges are biased when they might actually think the suspect is a nice guy. Nobody thinks this guy is a nice guy. So they're hardly going to be biased in favor of him. So if they're acquitting him, there must be relatively good reasons, which we're not being told. All right. So investigators are probing Madeleine's 2007 disappearance from a Portuguese holiday apartment, vowed to charge Brueckner before his release date after securing a number of secret witnesses. Secret witnesses. Okay. So far, Prosecutor Wolters has come up with 3 witnesses against this guy. 2 of them used to be his buddies, but they're all a bunch of thieves and scumbags and psychopaths. So, they're not the most trustworthy folks. So 2 of them gave some statements about him. There was claims that he burgled the apartment or apartments in the area, that he had a videotape that was never found. He said, one of them said, oh my gosh, I guess they were drinking one night. And he said, well, she didn't scream. That's kind of weird. And they're like, oh my God. See, he was there when it happened. Look, everybody and their brother knows, who's followed this case, that Madeleine did not scream. That's been in the news forever. She never screamed. So he didn't know what was going on in Portugal, never read the news. So he made a comment. I would have made that comment. Madeleine McCann didn't scream when she was taken. Therefore, I must be involved. So far, their witnesses are not credible. And based on these witnesses, and let's see, a phone issue, supposedly his phone pinged off some tower in the area, but Wolters doesn't even seem to know what tower it was or how close it was. So that's his entire physical evidence or electronic evidence. Then, based on all of that, they dug up Germany, they dug up Portugal, and they came up with absolutely nothing. They came up with no body, no DNA, no clothing, no videos, no photos, absolutely nothing. So Wolters, after starting all of this, I think it was in 2020, making claims that he knew he had evidence that he had kidnapped Madeleine McCann and murdered her. And all those years, he hadn't been able to come up with jack. So now he says, but I have secret witnesses. Really? Okay. Yeah, sure. All right. Lead prosecutor Hans Christian Wolters told The Sun, and if you allow The Sun to interview you, maybe I shouldn't have done that either. You can't trust them actually saying what you said. So I don't actually know. I will say this, just in Wolters' defense, although I'm not fond of him. You never know whatever gets printed has anything to do with what you actually said. We hope we will get an appeal decision from the Supreme Court. So they're going to appeal this, hoping that they can go forth with these cases yet again and keep him in prison longer. But if that is not decided by next September, we will try to get an arrest warrant for Maddie. Okay, Maddie doesn't need to be arrested. Maddie's dead. She cannot be arrested, and she didn't commit any crimes. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's just a misspeak or a misprint by the old Sun. But arrest warrant in the case of Maddie. So essentially, Wolters is saying, we got a year. We're gonna try to get that arrest warrant now. We failed for 4 years because we haven't any evidence, but now we're gonna try. We got 1 more year to come up with something. That will be our only chance to keep him behind bars. So are you keeping him behind bars because you have evidence to keep him behind bars? Or are you just trying to keep somebody behind bars because you don't like him and you think it's a danger to the community? I mean, that you can't keep somebody behind bars because of that. You have to keep them behind bars because they actually committed a crime that they're being actually charged with, and there's evidence for. He's done his time by next September. We may not agree that was enough time, but he's done his time. He has the legal right to leave prison. But you're going to try to keep him behind bars with an arrest warrant on this case. And considering that judges just acquitted him in 4 cases, tells me you got an issue with evidence, like not presenting enough. There was in these cases supposedly no physical evidence, no DNA evidence. There were witness reports, but the reports were like, in one case, the person was covered, masked, and the woman claimed he had a German accent. If she knows a German accent, I don't know. That's not good information. Supposedly, there was claim that the person who did this used his left hand, but he was really, this guy's right-handed. I'm not going to get into all the details because I don't know them all. But the point is, he was acquitted because there wasn't enough evidence. And he may have done all 4 crimes, but there's not enough evidence. That's a requirement for getting convicted. So anyway, then it goes on. Okay. Wolters continues. I can't say if we have enough right now. Oh, yes, I can say that for you, Wolters. You do not have enough right now. You haven't had enough in the last 4 years. You do not have enough, which is why you have no arrest warrant for him in Maddie's case. But it's a question we will answer next year because the investigation is still ongoing. But you need another whole year to try to come up with something, for God's sakes, something that you can charge him with. Some kind of evidence. I don't know what you're going to do in that next year, but you failed for 4 years because you're not getting anywhere. And then he added, we have witnesses no one knows about. Of course you do. All right. Is there anything else here? Okay. Oh, this is interesting. Explaining the appeal, Prosecutor Wolters told The Sun, the Supreme Court have the power to order a retrial with new judges. We believe we have enough evidence Christian Brueckner is guilty, and we believe the court will see the judges here have misinterpreted the evidence. Probably like we've misinterpreted all the evidence you have in the Madeleine McCann case. Mr. Wolters went on. We believe one of the judges had made up their minds before the case started As soon as we had an indication of this, we applied for that judge to be removed, but the request was denied. We think there is a case to show bias among the judges, and we believe we can show that. Sure, that's just like you can show he abducted Madeleine McCann and killed her. Sure. Yeah, let's see. Oh, then it goes further and says, okay, he was also cleared of grabbing a child and performing a sex act on himself near Praia de Luz weeks before Madeleine was abducted at age 3. Okay, let's stop here. Abducted. All right. There are still people who believe that Madeleine was abducted. But let me help you out here. Please do go watch. Wow, that just came in really blurry. Profile of the Disappearance of Madeleine McCann. I'll link it below. I'm not sure why that didn't show up properly. But the Profile of the Disappearance of Madeleine McCann is my audiobook, and it is available on YouTube. The link is below. Go there and listen to it. I go through the entire case. And there is zero evidence of abduction. There is good amount of evidence that the parents, that Madeleine died in the apartment on May 3rd. The parents covered it up. And that is where we stand all these years later. There is no evidence of abduction. So the fact is, Wolters, Prosecutor Wolters, has never proven there was an abduction. He doesn't even care if there's evidence of an abduction. He's just simply claiming there was one, and this guy did it. All right. He has never been formally accused of her disappearance because there's no way to accuse him of it, because there's no evidence. All right. So what I think is going to happen here is we've got Wolters. Wolters has been on this crusade for the last 4 or 5 years. Now, why is he doing this? One would ask. I don't know. Maybe he actually truly believes he's involved. Maybe he wants to make a name for himself, and he desperately wants this guy to be linked. He wants to solve the case of Madeleine McCann, the biggest case on the continent for a child disappearance. He wants to beat out Scotland Yard. He's fighting for Germany. I don't know what his issue is. He wants to prove Portugal's a bunch of idiots. I don't know. But he's never had any evidence, only his suspicions. And he's never clearly looked at the evidence in this case, which does not support an abduction. And that is problematic for me. When you have a prosecutor who is not willing to look at the evidence, just like Scotland Yard immediately when they came in said, we have a remit not to look at the McCanns and to only look at this as an abduction. When you start with the fact that you're going to say it's an abduction, you make an abduction a fact without even looking at the evidence. That tells me that something is amiss. And there's a lot of miss in this whole scenario. It's funny, when you look over at the Daily Mail, it's kind of funny because they actually say they're trying to pin Madeleine's disappearance on Brueckner, which I find rather funny because that is correct. They are trying to pin it. Now, I don't know why they're trying to do this outside of Wolters' own personal ego trip. Scotland Yard isn't really pushing that he abducted Madeleine. The McCanns even aren't pushing that he abducted Madeleine, which is interesting to me because both the McCanns and Scotland Yard want to prove or have everybody believe that she was abducted, and the McCanns have nothing to do with it. So I mean, he's a good fall guy. So I'm not sure why they're not willing to jump on board with that. But maybe because it's Germany. There seem to be a lot of little issues between the countries of proving, like, you know, who's better than whom. Well, I don't know where it's going to go at this point in time, but I can say this. I think a year is going to pass, and I would be surprised if they could come up with anything to actually arrest him for. Wolters is going to give it his darndest, but I don't know what he's got. What is he hoping that her body will show up under his house or something? I don't know. They've already dug everything up, so I don't know what he's going. Is he going to go on completely on witness statements from other psychopaths? I mean, really? That's what you got? Oh, the guy that's in prison. Oh, the guy that's in prison. Okay, I forgot to mention him. This cellmate. It's nothing like a jailhouse snitch. But he claimed that he said that he abducted Madeleine, and he wondered whether the dogs could find her bones and all that stuff underneath the ground. Everybody knows about this case. So the jailhouse snitch knows all kinds of stuff about Madeleine case. And even if he was hanging out with Christian Brueckner, I'm sure Brueckner talked about the case in general. Yeah, they're trying to blame it on me. They're trying to say that, oh, you kidnapped her, you buried her under the ground, and we're going to find her body. The dogs are going to find it. So then the jailhouse snitch supposedly goes and says, oh, that's what Brueckner said. Brueckner said he killed her and he buried her, blah, blah, blah. Unless you have a wire on him, I'm not going to believe it, because a jailhouse snitch has something to win by saying whatever he is saying. And that is not credible stuff. I mean, it's not. Sometimes it can be credible, but it has to be that they knew something that nobody else knew, that it can point them to the exact location of her body, whatever. But it has to be something absolutely, it has to be evidence. And some guy saying some crap that everybody else knows is not evidence. And Wolters is an embarrassment. I'm saying this to you, Hans Christian Wolters. You're an embarrassment. You've been an embarrassment since the beginning when you started this. And I'm surprised that Germany hasn't found a way to remove you from your position, because you're not making Germany look good. You're making Germany look like a bunch of idiots. And I feel sorry for anybody who it's embarrassing. Because if you're going to go public and say stuff, you ought to say stuff that has some validity to it. And you have been going on for years saying stuff that's nonsensical. And you've been called out on it. So let's wait and see where this goes in the future. He's going to get out in a year unless they can pin this crime on him to keep him in prison longer, and then delay that trial so he can stay there for a few more years. And so we can go into, God knows how many more years we have to put up with this nonsense. But it's a little frustrating. Anyway, that's my thoughts on this. I just thought it was kind of just amazing to. I'm almost speechless. It just goes on and on with such nonsense. And as a person who, as a criminal profiler who appreciates the work of detectives and appreciates the work of prosecutors, I hate to see them represented in this way. It is an embarrassment, not only to Germany, but to all prosecutors and detectives. Don't act like this. Okay, don't say things that you cannot back. I mean, that's unbelievable. And yeah. Anyway, thank you for being here. If you're new to the channel, please do like and subscribe, and check out my playlist and see what else I talk about besides Madeleine McCann. And I'll be back when there's more real news, if there ever is any. Bye.